How I came across hip hop was my mum. She had the Doggy Style cassette, and I used to thrash that. And she also had a compilation. It was like, was it like the Rhythm Volume 1, like all of those rhythm compilations. So yeah, my old lady, man.
Well, it comes from a time of before kohanga reo, so everybody was joining gangs and stuff at the time. There was no, the Māori language was dying out, so hip hop came along and basically saved us. So we jumped onto it, for something to latch onto because we had nothing else to latch onto, meaning no Māori tanga or anything like that.
I'm the second youngest of 6, so my first memories of hip hop are like my brother trying to record like Young MC, and him having like NWA like videos, and me being like, ooh, this is really naughty, like I just instantly knew that it was like really naughty. And then moving forward, like in the 90s, all these raunchy, groups that came out, because the 90s was really raunchy. Like people think that things are crazy now, but like they were saying some really crazy stuff back then that I think was, let's talk about sex, and there was a lot of like sexual connotations, even maybe more so than now,
I think one of the key points of difference, and I can speak for myself personally, was that when you first saw hip hop growing up in a concrete environment, it was very different to what was in the mainstream media at the time. That country calendar was one thing that I did not identify with back in the 80s. And for a lot of people, seeing this dynamic art form and seeing something which is completely different to what they'd seen throughout their whole lives was a point of difference. And also the fact that the people in the Bronx looked different to other role models that people had here in the 80s, you know what I mean? Like in terms of Puerto Rican people, they look like Māori people possibly at the time, you know what I mean? And they're doing this crazy dynamic art form. So new role models were born straight away.
Yes. Yeah, like Bboy and Death Row at the time. Yeah, man, Tone Tags. I just remember that because one of the bros, he would always rap it, like Daryl, they'd rap all the words at church.
The first shit that I can remember getting into was Ain't No Mountain High Enough by Marvin Gaye. Like that was the first.
That's the jam.
Yeah, that was the first song I can remember liking.
That sounds like a song to be played while you're cleaning the house or something.
Yeah. That was my mom's routine, G.
About the community, it's like a second family. That's what it is. It's just like you can travel the world and you may not have seen somebody for ages and you might have met them at a gig at such and such and you can ring them up and it's like you just play catch-ups,
At lunch times, instead of going out and playing in the playground, we'd be in the corridors listening to our music and breakdancing on the vinyl and that. So that's kind of originally where it started, yeah.
For us, it was like about people. People were hip-hop, It wasn't just like a dance clip or YouTube clip or something you read. It was like actually the people that you hanged out with and you actually met. That was hip-hop for us.
So that's when I kind of came in the late 90s, early 2000s. I was just a part of that whole movement with everybody else, just like loving this energy. I was just all about this awesome, amazing, incredible energy that was just being created on the fly everywhere around me. And that's what I fell in love with, And I'm not as connected to like that necessarily anymore because everything kind of grew so big and it separated. But back when I was getting into it, everything was the same. B-boying was the same as DJing, was the same as Emceeing. And then people started making money or the scene itself started making all these rules and it started to move into their own section like it is now.
I grew up in Aotearoa, Menurua, Wainga. So for me as a white guy, I used to get hassled quite a lot, beat down, smashed a lot, just for being the odd one or the minority, you know what I mean? So a lot of people think I'm a white guy, how does hip hop relate to you or that culture? And it's kind of like, that's how it relates to me because I was a minority. It gave me like a voice.
That's one of the unique things about hip hop is that it brings these people together based upon skill, not upon language or anything. Like, B-boys, for example, can get down without speaking the same language. They hear the same music, the same beat, and they'll communicate on the floor. you know, graffiti writers will express themselves and they don't even have to all speak English, but it's about the artistic letters that they use and the funk that they demonstrate on the wall, and the same with DJs and MCs.
Well, first I saw Michael Jackson doing the moonwalk on YouTube, and then I thought I had to learn it, and then his moonwalk came from a style called popping.
I thought popping, this dance we do, was actually breakdancing, and when I was little I saw a clip of Mr. Wiggles, who's one of the original poppers, teaching the wave. And I just practiced that and then learned later it's actually popping and got into that.
Hello, my name is Saaka and I'm from Japan. I love dancing so much because I feel like when I'm dancing, I feel like I can be who I am. And there are so many good dancers who do it as a job.
Year 1991. And that's the first year I went to DMC, because I was the first Māori person to represent New Zealand in a DJ competition, and the first person from New Zealand to represent us in an international competition.
I didn't really think I could go anywhere, and then to go to London was like, maybe make something out of this.
Understand the conflict and getting everything you wanted, but sacrificing everything you wanted.
We all have, you know, various things that we do on the side, but in terms of the amount of effort that we put into music, we aiming for everything.
Like me making music myself, like I know what it goes on, like the hours that go into it, to perfecting your craft, time you spend, like, you know, just all of that shit, like, that goes into doing it. So you have an appreciation for other people's stuff, because you know that, you know, they do the hard yards.
Yeah. I like making new bangers, like the feeling when it's like makes a beat,
or
write a verse.
When people are like in the crowd rapping your shit, it's like, oh, what? No fucking way. Highlights.
And when I pay my rent and it's like from music, I'm like, boom.
I first arrived in Auckland in '98. And then coming back in 2000, there was this palpable sense that there had been so many small successes and the gathering momentum of the hip-hop scene. Little breakthroughs, like finally getting played on mainstream radio for King Kapisi, those sorts of things. And so there was this real sense of accretion.
With hip-hop turning 40, the significance is for me is that I'm 40 years old, so when I was born, hip-hop was given birth to over in the Bronx.
I actually started getting into hip-hop when Beat Street came out, and so I was a B-girl first. I think in terms of hip-hop in Aotearoa, it's always had to, its survival has always been down to its people, and there have always been people that have been involved with it. So whether commercial radio or commercial television says that hip-hop is dead or whatever, it doesn't mean a thing, because we're still going to be here and we're still around.
No, I think we still tell stories that are true to our actual lives. I mean, look at Team Dynamite, you know, look at Peace, you know. They're all saying still their true stories of where they come from.
All the energy you give to us, we're going to give back to you. So this next song is dedicated to all of you who dare to be different.
It's like always good freestyling with like Tom and Louis, you know, because they're like dope, and Tom's just fucking always been like, we're always on his tail, you know, but some nights, you know, we beat him some nights we're on, and you just can't be on every time, you know, like that's the thing with freestyle.
In fact, I even feel like there is almost like a regression right now. Like I feel like these boys, Team Dynamite, at Peace, are doing music that I first started loving, like this boom bap kind of stuff, and fusing it with like this double time thing, and it's very familiar to me. And I feel really lucky to be around to witness it. And they actually look at me as like an old girl, like in the hip hop scene. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, you know. I'm like a kaumatua, handing down the knowledge. Like, yes, come on tour with us, we'll show you.